Yo, let's watch the fascinating case of Carol Kale. Cole.
This case takes place in the USA in the year 1980.
What the fuck
A
can I?
hunter, along with his son and daughter, stumbled across a body in Bossier Parish, Louisiana, just off the side of a rural logging road. The family found the body by stepping directly into it.
Bro. How do I press? Bro, this shit's not working. No, my days, I need to fix this stupid shit.
Today I'm going to go over how to fix YouTube playback speed. So specifically here in the settings, if I do playback speed, as you can see right here, it says 1, normal, or 4. And the 4 with the P next to it means it's for premium users. So we don't even have access to. The solution would be to refresh, as you can see right here, or click on F5 on your keyboard. And so actually right now, if I play the video and actually hold the mouse, as you can see, the video is speeding up to 2 times speed. Same here, if I go back to playback speed, the other options are once again back here. Also do customize to have a more specific amount of playback speed, but it wouldn't be permanent. If right now I would have gone to another video, it will go back to the same normal speed.
To refresh. Oh shit. Okay. Good, finally.
This case takes place in the USA in the year 1980. A hunter, along with his son and daughter, stumbled across a body in Bossier Parish, Louisiana, just off the side of a rural.
Hey, go drink some water,
the body by stepping directly into it. It was like being stuck in the mud, but far worse. Once they realized what it was, they scrambled away and called for their dad. The unidentified victim had been savagely killed, and investigators found what they believed to be a murder weapon thrust into the soil near her remains. The crime scene yielded no purse, no documents, no hint of her name. With no immediate leads, authorities could only label the slain teenager as Jane Doe. At the time of her discovery, the victim was estimated to be a white or possibly Native American female between 15 and 21 years old. She stood at about 5 feet 5 inches tall and weighed roughly 125 to 140 pounds. Her hair was described as straight, shoulder length, and blonde, but due to advanced decomposition, examiners could not determine her eye color. Her fingernails were painted, suggesting that she had taken care in her appearance. Investigators noted an unusual dental detail. The girl had worn orthodontic braces in the past, but the metal brackets had been removed in a non-professional manner before her death. In fact, it was later confirmed that she had personally pulled out her own braces at some point. This made identification incredibly difficult. When found, the victim was fully clothed. She wore blue jeans, a leather belt featuring a distinctive buffalo nickel buckle, along with a long-sleeved white sweater with pink, yellow, and blue stripes under a beige hooded jacket. Inside these items of clothing were a number of names: Michael, David, Risha. This would be typical of a child or young adult who was institutionalized or lived in shared spaces. This meant that the victim was likely vulnerable. From the start, authorities treated the case as a homicide. The condition of the remains suggested that she had been killed several weeks before her discovery on the 18th of January 1981, so likely in December of 1980. But how did she die? Investigators noted that she was lying on her stomach when she was found. Her body was taken away for an autopsy, and the coroner's examination provided a clear picture of what had happened to her. They identified penetrating injuries to her back and chest, indicating that she was stabbed at least 8 times. Her arms were too decomposed to determine whether defensive wounds were present. It wasn't known if she was killed on site where she was found, or whether she was killed somewhere else and then dumped. All they knew was that she was savagely stabbed to death. At the scene, detectives collected the knife as evidence. They were hopeful that it might contain some clues such as fingerprints, blood traces, or a manufacturer's mark that could be traced. The police worked day and night in 1981 to develop leads in the young woman's murder. They treated the case as a top priority, given the brutality of the crime and the victim's apparent youth. But there were so many questions that needed to be answered. Who was this girl? Why was she in rural Louisiana? And who could have wanted to harm her? Fingerprints were attempted, but her skin was too badly decomposed. Impressions of her teeth were also recorded, along with samples of her hair. In 1981, DNA profiling was not available, but they kept samples in case other testing methods would be created in the future. Investigators appealed to the public, but nobody had seen anything unusual in that area, and the area was so remote that there were few witnesses. No one reported seeing a struggle, no one heard any screams, and there were no suspicious vehicles on the road around the estimated time of the murder. Databases of runaway teens were also checked, but nothing surfaced. But then, a startling lead emerged. Before we continue, just a quick word from today's sponsor.
Damn, he actually looks tough. I've seen him before, bro. But like, actually, he's tough. He shaved it. Did he shave? He definitely like cut some part of his hair, or maybe he just styled it a different way. He looks tough.
Right now,
It looks nice.
phone number, email, medical details, everything is online right now and is being sold by
This is a sponsor, bro.
Automatic Move It. You can't harm you.
Incognito, disturbing
to be
disturbing if you wanna, you know. But no. Why the hell did I? Okay, I'm drawing it back. Where was I? Yeah, right here.
They can even open up credit cards for the with you is create an account, 30-day risk-free money-back guarantee. Use my link incogni.com/disturbing for 60% off their annual plan. These criminals can't harm you if they can't find you. In 1983, a notorious serial killer was arrested in Texas, Henry Lee Lucas. Henry became infamous for confessing to hundreds of murders worldwide, so this seemed to be promising. However, many of his confessions were found to be incorrect. For a period, authorities considered Henry a possible suspect, and then Henry confessed to killing this girl. He told the police how he brutally stabbed her to death. But upon checking his claims, detectives found solid evidence that Henry was in Florida at the time of the girl's death. It turned out that he just wanted to increase his kill count. With this, it was back to square one, and the case went cold. In the late 1980s, forensic artists created a clay model reconstruction of the victim's face. The three-dimensional bust was photographed and distributed to the media in hopes that someone might recognize her face. But still, no identification was made. Decades then passed by. Nobody came looking for this
How
girl.
she actually looks. Oh, like, is that what he did? The person did to her?
In the year
Crazy.
2000, as technology improved, an updated composite image was able to be created, giving a more lifelike impression of the victim. And again, no one came forward, and things only got worse. In 2005, a fire broke out at the storage facility used by law enforcement, and most of the physical evidence from the 1981 crime scene was destroyed. Even if they did find the person responsible, solving the case would be near impossible. By 2014, the case of Bossier Doe was over 3 decades old, but it had not been forgotten. And soon enough, things started to fall into place. A woman named Jeannie Phelps had long suspected that something terrible had happened to her older sister back in 1980. Jeannie said that her sister stopped writing and calling, which was suspicious. The older sister in question was Carol Ann Cole. Jeannie had filed a missing person report for Carol back in the 80s. Over the years, Jeannie, along with a close family friend named Patty, refused to let the search falter. The women took to the internet in the 2000s, posting dozens of messages on missing person forums and even putting out Craigslist advertisements, pleading for any news of Carol's whereabouts. One reoccurring post was titled, "Help Bring Carol Ann Home." Patty estimates that she sent out nearly 100 such messages in hopes that someone, somewhere, would recognize her friend's name or face, but they never did. On the investigation side, the Bossier Sheriff's Office decided to try a new tactic in early 2015. Lieutenant Sharon Mack was a detective assigned to cold cases, and she was inspired to harness social media in an unusual way. On the 6th of February 2015, the Sheriff's Office created a Facebook profile for the still unidentified victim, essentially giving Bossier Doe her own page on the social network. They uploaded the
like, how do you... Okay, did they... No comment.
composite reconstruction image of Jane Doe as her profile and shared all the details of the case as if Bossier Doe were a person asking for help in finding her own identity. This innovative approach quickly gained traction.
Oh, people are gonna see it and have to find who they are. Okay, valid, smart.
The Bossier Doe profile and shared multiple posts spreading the word across states. In February of 2015, a 911 operator in Louisiana named Linda Erickson was home sick from work. She was just laid on her sofa, scrolling through Facebook, when she saw the page. The image of the Jane Doe's face struck her. Something about her face seemed naggingly familiar.
She does not look exact. She does not look like the other person. Besides being white, maybe the nose.
Linda recalled that just a few hours earlier, she had been browsing Craigslist and had seen a post from Patty in Michigan looking for Carol Ann. The post had included a photograph of Carol Ann Cole from 1980. Linda went back to find the Craigslist ad and compared it to the Doe profile picture. Linda then looked at the timelines between Carol Ann Cole and the Doe profile. It matched. Linda then made a call to the sheriff's office to relay the tip. Within a week, Patty, the family friend who had posted the Craigslist ad, received an email from detectives expressing interest in Carol's case. Things moved quickly after that. Investigators found Carol Ann's mother, Sue Cole, who was living in Texas, and her father and sister in Michigan. Detectives explained that they had an unidentified homicide victim from 1981 who might be their missing loved one. The family provided DNA samples so that a definitive comparison could be made, and it came back.
But who killed it though? That's the thing. Okay, you know how I basically was not here to listen to like some of them, so I don't know what's going on fully.
As a match, the mystery of the young woman's name was at last solved, but the family had to face the fact that their loved one had been brutally murdered. When speaking with reporters, Jeannie said, "There's a kind of relief there is a resolution, but there are still so many questions. Why? Who? How?" Carol's mother Sue echoed a similar sentiment from her home in Texas. She said, "I kind of knew in my heart all along that she was probably dead. I'm just glad we got closure." With the victim's identity restored, the case shifted focus. This was no longer a Jane Doe investigation. It became a hunt for Carol Ann Cole's killer. Even before Carol Ann Cole's identity was confirmed, one name had risen to the top of the list of suspects. This was John Alvin Chesson Jr. And he wasn't a new person to the case. In fact, I mentioned him at the very start of the video, the man who found her body with his 2 children back in 1981. At the time, he was not publicly suspected of any wrongdoing. However, decades later, John's own daughter came forward with disturbing allegations that cast her father's actions in a sinister light. The daughter, named Frances, was 13 years old in 1980, and she was one of the children with John when the body was discovered. In early 2015, after learning that the unidentified girl was actually Carol Ann Cole, Frances contacted law enforcement to say that she believed that her own father had actually killed Carol. Frances's account filled in...
So he killed her and reported it. I don't think that is smart though. And how did she know? Was she there when it happened or something?
Some crucial background details. She stated that in late 1980, her father had picked up a teenage hitchhiker who turned out to be Carol Ann Cole, and he even brought her into their home. Carol stayed with the family for around a week. Then, one day, Carol was suddenly gone. Frances remembered coming home from school and finding that Carol was no longer there. Her father offered no explanation, and the family never saw or heard from her.
What if he basically tried like raping her? He probably tried raping her. She was quite resisting. After boom, he maybe did some other thing. After he probably killed her because of that. Who knows? Or maybe he did rape her and wanted to hide the evidence.
Again. Now, her father John was often volatile and abusive towards her, so Frances didn't dare press him about what happened to Carol. Then, not long afterward, on a December morning, John did something out of character. He invited his daughter and son to go on a hunting trip with him. This was the first time that he had ever taken them hunting.
Oh, bro wanted to fucking kill them, bro. I know these type of shit. This is what you see in horror movies and stuff. And this is what happened to what's the show called? The movie called? And burning something bright burn, something like that. This basically fake Superman one. I don't know, bro.
Road and instructed the kids to walk down a specific path ahead of him. Frances told investigators that she found his behavior extremely suspicious. She even feared in that moment that her father might even be planning to harm her, given his violent temperament. As the 2 children walked into the brush, they discovered the decomposed remains of Carol, feet first. John shouted that they should go and get help as soon as possible, playing the role of a startled discoverer. In the daughter's view, her father had deliberately led them to the body to find it and deflect any suspicion that he was actually involved. Essentially, she believes the entire hunting trip was staged and orchestrated by her father to cover up his crime. When Carol Ann's identity was revealed in 2015, she publicly asserted, "I strongly believe that he had gotten rid of her. I strongly believe that my dad..."
But what's his motive though? What will be his motive to do that? That's the main question. So I don't think he actually. I don't know. I don't know if he probably like had a proper reason to. So I don't know.
Carol Ann, and she has since seen the photograph of the murder weapon, and she believes it's the very knife her dad once held up to her neck during one of his violent rages. These allegations carried serious weight because John Chesson was no innocent outdoorsman. He was, by 2015, a convicted murderer sitting in prison. In 1997, John had stabbed and killed his ex-mother-in-law, a crime for which he was convicted and sentenced to life in prison. These parallels didn't go unnoticed. Investigators took this lead incredibly seriously, armed with a statement from Francis, and now with information that Carol lived with the family, they re-interviewed.
Wait. Could you give could you give someone from jail extra time for a death like murder they did before that was never noticed? Was that, or could you? Yeah, you probably could. Most likely.
John in prison and spoke with others who knew the Chesson family in 1980, but there was a serious roadblock. As I mentioned earlier, the destruction of evidence in the 2005 fire meant that there was no longer any DNA evidence to the physical knife to test for, and Carol's clothing was gone as well. Any potential forensic links,
Oh, so he probably graped there.
like fibers or fingerprints, had been long lost. The case against John, even if one were to be built, would rely heavily on circumstantial evidence and witness testimony like that of his daughter. As of the most recent updates, no murder charges have been filed against him in Carol's case. John, now in his late 70s, remains incarcerated in prison for killing his mother-in-law. Aside from John Chesson, no other individual suspects have been named publicly. Investigators have kept other leads open, understanding that somebody else could also be responsible. They carefully considered Carol Ann Cole's movements in her final months to identify anyone who might have come into contact with her. Carol had run away from a rehabilitation facility in Texas in October of 1980 when she was 17, and somehow made her way to northwest Louisiana by December. During that period, it is known that she was in the Shreveport area and made a phone call to her grandmother, telling her family that she was babysitting for a local couple. But it's also believed that she stayed with multiple people. Tips that have come in since 2015 have been investigated, but none of them have led to any arrests. As of the most recent updates, the case remains unsolved and open, but many people believe, including Francis, that the real killer is behind bars regardless. In June of 2015, a memorial service was held in Carol's honor in Michigan, where she had grown up. Her remains, which had been cremated, were placed to rest at Maple Grove Cemetery in Comstock Township on the 18th of June, a little over 34 years after she was found dead in Louisiana. A gravestone was also created, which read, "I was once lost, but now I am
found." You're not like that has to be it's a Bible verse for sure. Well, damn, R.I.P. her, bro. R.I.P. Carol Cole.
But how did she die?
That might should have stayed for it. That's who restarted this. That's entertaining listening to it. People